and you can discover that you have epilepsy, or it could come on at any stage in life. Is that right? Sort of as you sort of go through, your teens, and as you get older, you can sort of find out that you have epilepsy.
That's right. It can emerge at any point in time. I mean, the highest rates of new diagnosis are for children, adolescents and people over 65. But it can just come on at any point. There's no real kind of rhyme or reason. I think with the older age groups it can be associated with other events such as stroke, but it is a bit of a conundrum, even with all of the research that's going on. There's still many that it's unclear as to why it emerges at a particular point in time.
I see. And as you said earlier, we don't know too much about it. It's still a little bit of a mystery as to what's going on.
Yeah, look, there are some genetic causes of epilepsy, and they tend to be the much more complex, rare conditions. There is some association with neurological events, but many of them we just genuinely don't know. There's quite a bit of research into improving the efficacy of treatment. So at the moment we have a whole range of medications that people will move through, and sometimes it takes years to find the right one. A very small percentage of people can access surgery, but that's very much emerging research and scientific medical technology. So it's still an area that requires a lot of research and a lot more understanding.
Yes. Nicole, with epilepsy, does it manifest itself in seizures, or is there other ways that people sort of suffer from epilepsy?
Well, the key component of epilepsy is the presence of seizures, which is a dysfunction in the electrical activity in the brain, and it's more than one of those unprovoked instances. So what happens is that either generalised throughout the brain, there's a disruption of the electrical activity which creates a whole body seizure, which might be known as a tonic-clonic, that whole of body, and it can be a focal change as well. So just one part of the brain has that abnormal electrical activity, and that might just cause an unusual movement of an arm or a facial twitch, perhaps a change in awareness. Sometimes people might look like they're daydreaming during a seizure. So there's a much more broad presentation of seizures than what people are aware.
Yeah, lives are being changed by this and by your organisation. I've heard some stories. I was at a function not so long ago with the Epilepsy Australia Foundation, and people sharing their stories. So some individual stories of people you've helped, or ways that the foundation has, helped people through coping with epilepsy.
Yeah, there was one shared last week actually about a young boy, and I think it's a really good example of the breadth of the support that people do need. Oftentimes for children in primary school, there are a lot of activities that they're excluded from. Schools often think they're doing the right thing. They're trying to manage risks. Maybe it's about swimming lessons. Maybe it's about camp. In this instance, it was actually about the bus and having a bus driver who was comfortable to drive this child off to excursions and on to camp as well. So some work with the family about and the school being able to support that bus driver to get the education and training that he required to feel comfortable so that the child could go on those excursions. But it extends to the sibling. So the sibling was struggling a bit. There's a lot of attention, a lot of focus and a lot of stress in a family as well. So that child is actually able to access someone who's trained in that area and have a conversation about how it was impacting him as well, and I think that's really important. Yeah. So it is very much a whole of life wraparound, connecting with doctors as well. We don't get into that area of the medical management. Ours is very much about the social, emotional, the education side of things. But yeah, all aspects, and it's a very complex condition, and it doesn't leave many areas of your life untouched. And
to listen to families and young people and people in every stage of life with that lived experience. That's an interesting thing to have to go through, I guess, but you hear those stories and it sort of gives you information you need to move forward with your program.
There's no point in designing a program if you're not listening to the people who are going to be the ones using it. Yes. It's been incredibly important, I think, and we've invested a lot of time into making sure that we get to that grassroots level and really understand what will make a meaningful difference in people's lives.